Joe Henderson was an American jazz tenor saxophonist. The tenor sax is the larger of the two most common saxes, which are the tenor and the alto, and the tenor is the one that goes honk like an asthmatic duck at times. Um, in his late teens, he got involved in the Detroit jazz scene, which was in the mid 50s. In 1960 to 1962, he spent a couple of years in the army and he got involved with army entertainment, so he started playing in bands there as well. In 1963, his recording career started, and he recorded albums both as a leader and as a sidesman, which is when somebody else is the leader and you're playing in their band. Through the 70s and beyond, he got involved in all sorts of things. He was doing his own stuff as a leader, but he also got involved with the band Blood, Sweat and Tears, and with a guy called Chick Corea, who came through the Miles Davis stable of musicians, and got involved in jazz funk stuff. He died in 2001, age 64, and he has a typically huge discography for a jazz musician. Hi, my name's Dan, and I think it's not very controversial to claim that this is an album of jazz. It's probably my first time listening to this album. It's described as being hard bop. I'm not sure technically what that means. Jazz is not an entirely foreign country to me, but it's a place that I'm not hugely familiar with. Generally, when things are labelled hard bop, I tend to find that they're pretty free, but they're not as free jazz, and there is some structure to it, but they're tending to kind of whiffle around quite a lot. So I once read a book. I'm glad other people have read books as well. No, I once read a book in which there was a claim that there are three kinds of jazz. This was a fiction book, and it was meant to be not entirely serious, but the three kinds of jazz were hot jazz, cool jazz, and what time does the tune start? And this is mostly the what time does the tune start kind of jazz. It's a quartet. There's saxophone, which is fairly obvious because that's what Joe plays, and there's a piano, a bass, and drums. Okay, the piano for the album is a guy called McCoy Tyner, so I've heard of his name. The drummer was somebody whose name I hadn't heard of, but he and the pianist were part of John Coltrane's quartet at the point in time that this was recorded. And most of the structure for these tracks is what I think of as the classic bookending jazz, where you play a tune and then you play improvisation based on the chord sequence that backed the tune, and then you finish off by playing the tune again. That's pretty much what's done here. There is one tune that I know on here, which is Night and Day by Cole Porter. There's only 5 tracks. They're quite long tracks. Another track, which is somewhat different to the others, is El Barrio, which has got a Spanish influence to it. And overall, I'd say I found it to be reasonably pleasant. As I said, it's about, for me, if I'm going to get jazz that's verging into the kind of free-ish improvisation, then I'm starting to learn that hard bop is about where my comfort level is on that. But I think on this, I wished that there was more variety in terms of who's soloing it. It's very much a vehicle for the saxophone, and so the saxophone's doing most of the focus in the playing here. There are bits of piano solo as well, but that's the only real option you've got here. Maybe occasional bits of drum solo as well. But very much lots of sax. I found I wanted a little bit more variety. But it's all right. It's quite listenable. So I reasonably enjoyed it. What do you think? Please talk to me through the comments box. That's it from me for now.